Hello and welcome back. Now we will define our own functions. So for this task, I will put this as in progress and I will go to Jupyter Lab and now defining functions. First, we will define a function without parameters. Without parameters. How do we define functions? It's very easy in Python. We use def keyword. It's the abbreviation of definition. Def function name and parentheses, empty parentheses, because we are not using any parameters for this function. Here it's empty. Def function name and empty parentheses. This function will only print my first function on the screen. That's all. Now if I run this cell, as you see, it didn't do anything. It didn't print. Why? Because function is only defined. Definition doesn't mean function to run. To run this function, we have to call it. So I create the function. It's okay. It's defined and it's waiting to call. And now call the function. If I call the function, I will write function name, then parentheses. Parentheses. It's empty because function doesn't take any arguments, any parameters. We will see in a short time the parameters. This function is an empty parameter function. So I will not pass any parameters and I will run this. Now, if I run this function, if I run this code, this line of code, it will call the function and function will print screen that string as my first function. Okay, great. We defined our first function. I want to show you something here. There is an indent, and whenever I write this, let me go back. If I click enter here, as you see, it puts indent automatically. So let me write this and I will put here a comment, print line, let's say. So the indent here is important. Indent, I want to write it in a markdown cell as indent. In Python, Python uses indent for scoping. So what is scope? We will see in a very short time. I will tell you about scope. For the time being, just know that scope is the function area which function the variables, everything inside function lives in function scope. So scope is defined with indent. Python uses indent for scoping, and indent can be created by both tabs. In that you can create indent with tabs, which we will do in this course. Mostly I create indents by pressing tabs, as you see here. Also, you can use 4 spaces for indent. Mainly the 4 spaces is generally used. Both okay because an indent is about 4 spaces. Let me show you. 1, 2, 3, 4 is 1 indent space. It's 4 space, as you see. It's in Python. We use this for scoping. We will see scope in detail in a while. Okay, now let's define another function. The function name will be the function will keep student data. Before that, let us decide what this student data will be. So we will print its name. Student name is John Doe, let's say, and print the age 24, and print language, the programming language John uses, which is Python. So these are the student data we got. Okay, let's say we need student data again. It's very easy. We already have this print, so I copy this and passed it here. And again, I got the student data, but there's a problem here, which is I write the code, I duplicated the code, I write the same code 2 times, which is a problem in programming. You should never do this. So what will we do? We will define a function to print student data, whenever we need that data, we will call that function. So let's do it. Define, it's command sen, define a function for student data. Def, I will define with the def student data. Before going to all the student data, let's start with student name. Okay, let's do it one by one. Student name, it is print this one, student name. Def student name. It's again doesn't take any parameters. It will only print student name. This is the function for student name. So I will copy this and I will create a function for student age. The function name will be def student age, and it will print the age as 24. Okay, now this function is also ready. So let's call this also student name. Let's call this function here, call it, and it will print John Doe here. Call student age, call it, and you will see it prints age 24. Okay, great. Two functions for two functionalities for two data. Now student language. Language is, function name is student language, and it will print the language as Python. As you see, I run this. Now if I click on tab, it will show me all the options. I want student language, and if I run this, as you see, it prints language as Python, this line of code. Okay, great. Now we got all our pieces. Now we will print student data again. Print student data again. As I showed you before, you could do these prints by yourself, but now you have functions. To print student name, I will call only student name. To print student age, we will call student age. To print student language, we will call function student language. So if you run this code, then it will exactly print, every function will print its own data. So at the end, you will have three different data printed on the screen. Okay, what if you need it again? What if you need this data again? So the first thing you may think, that call student data again, or print student data again, and I will call these three functions and they will print. Yeah, okay, but again, still we have code duplication. It's too much code, 3 line of codes. How do we fix it? How do we make it much more less code and much more clean code? The answer is very easy. We will create a function which calls these three functions. Let us do it in the next video. In the next video, we will move on with this topic.